What's up, guys? This is Justin again. I wanted to take a few minutes and show you how I set up my sleeping system for hammock camping. I've got my ENO double nest hammock, my OES MetCat standard tarp, homemade suspension system, my stakes, and my DIY underquilt and Kelty Cosmic sleeping bag. So let me get this set up for you real quick, and then I'll go through each part individually. So, as you can see, it takes no time at all to set this up. It's really quick, really simple, and I've never had any problems with it. So let's start with the hammock suspension. This is just my tree strap. It's about 3 feet of webbing with loops sewn in on both sides. You just run it around the tree, run it through the first loop, comes back, and I have my the adjustable side of my whoopee sling running through the second loop. Whoopee sling runs down. I have my closed end loop on this side connected to a carabiner, which then connects to my structural ridge line. On this side, it's the same way, again, running up to the tree. What I like about the carabiners here is they actually act as a drip line. Water comes in, comes down off the whoopee sling, hits the metal, and drips off before saturating your hammock with water. Next up is my tarp suspension. On this side, I just have a small carabiner tied into the end of the paracord. The paracord runs around the tree and hooks into this carabiner. On each side of the tarp, I tie another piece of rope onto the D-ring of the tarp with a prusik knot on the other side. This allows for easy adjustability back and forth to get the tarp right where you want it. Again, this side, same thing, paracord running through the D-ring, another piece of rope tied onto the D-ring with a prusik knot on the other side. The paracord then runs up, goes around the tree, comes back, and I tie another prusik knot just to be able to tighten up the suspension. As for my guy lines, I just have a loop tied into this end that runs around your stake. On this end, it's the same idea as the tarp suspension. I have another piece of rope tied onto the D-ring with a prusik knot on the other side, and the guy line runs up and through that knot. I like this setup because when these tarps get wet, they tend to loosen up, and this allows you to tighten it back up from underneath the tarp. You don't have to get out and get all wet. I also like this setup because there's never any new knots to tie when you're setting up your guy lines. And finally, I'd like to show you guys my underquilt. It's homemade. I use Momentum 50 fabric for the inner and outer shell, and use 5-ounce Climashield Apex for the insulation. All I do is tie the shock cord around a small S-beaner and hook it up to my suspension. The shock cord runs freely through the side channels of the underquilt and back up to an S-beaner on the other side. This allows me to pull the underquilt either forward or backward depending on where the cold spots are. On the end, again, I have shock cord running freely through the end channels with cord locks on both sides. This allows me to tighten it up and get rid of any air gaps that might let cold air through at night. So again, there's my setup. Hope you guys enjoyed watching.